Well, it's not gonna really be like a tiny. Oh god, that's even worse. It's not really gonna be a tiny stream, but it's not gonna be crazy long either. I kind of just wanted to mention some things I've been working on. Not really working on, more just thinking about. I've been like thinking about killer ideas for add-ons and stuff. And I know this is weird. Normally I start off the video with me just being loud or something and, you know, throwing myself right into a match where I either do really good or really bad, depending on how things go. But I thought of these items, like, well, quite a while ago, but I never really, like, put them on paper and kind of thought them through on how they'd be game-changing or what they'd do. Now, granted, they could always be changed, and, you know, I doubt anyone's ever going to find this video, and if one of these ever gets added, I will find a way to get to the developers and show them that I wrote these down, and to this day, I have the dates written down of when I made these. They were all thought of a long time ago, but when I wrote this down, I wrote these down, like, today. Hang on. (8:21 p.m.) I wrote these down earlier, but I'm going to write down when I did this now, so they will always know that I had these ideas down first. Sunday, July 29th. So, right now I've only got 2 ideas down, but I think both are fair and balanced. Now maybe, you know, one could use a little bit of work, but currently I'm going off their philosophy that they're running right now. I need to go to Survive with or Kill Your Friends for this, because it won't really make much sense what I'm going by. So, if you look at every killer in the game, from this point forward, 2.1 currently in its current state, that's it. Oh, when it says that little thing, only microphone audio is being recorded, I found out it's actually not, and it is indeed lying to me, and you guys can't hear what I'm saying, and I probably cut out right there or something. Anyway, currently, even the new killer has 2 ultra rares. Now, they all have different amount of very rares, but I know that they all have 2 ultra rares. Most of them have 2 ultra rares. So Trapper has Iridescent Stone and Bloody Coil. The Wraith has Blind Warrior and All Seeing. The Hillbilly has no ultra rares, neither does the Nurse. The Hag has Waterlogged Shoe and Mint Rag. The Doctor only has 1, and that's his Iridescent King. The Trapper has Judith's Tombstone and Fragrant Tuft of Hair. The Cannibal is another chainsaw killer, so he doesn't get an ultra rare. The Huntress only has 1, and that is Iridescent Head. The Nightmare has, I don't know actually, I've never seen all of his perks. He is a short-ass killer. He has 2 as well. The Clown has 2, and the Pig has 2, I think. But for me, I'm looking at the add-ons that I thought of and made in my head. I thought of the Hillbilly and the Doctor. The Hillbilly was first, because him and Leatherface, neither, because they have a chainsaw, do not have an ultra rare. But they all have the same add-ons as of Grizzled Chain, Rusted Chain, and Begrimed Chain. But what if they had something else? Because all of them are kind of messed up. Grizzled Chain, that means you've got extra, heavy cutter teeth that leave victims crippled. This one, a chain covered in crusty and violated rust spots, which leave them harder to get healed. In Begrimed, makes it to where they can't heal very well because it hurts more, basically. Now think about his chainsaw's special ability is that it can break pallets very quickly. What if, since he has Begrime chain, what if he got a new chain? I had 2 names in progress on what they could be called, but I decided to stick with one. The first one was brand new chains, or brand new chain, but I instead changed it to heavy duty chain. And basically, what it does is during a chainsaw charge, if you hit a dropped pallet, you move 15% or 25% slower, but you keep dashing. So on your first hit, you go to I think it's, instead of going 230 during a normal chainsaw sprint, you'd instead go to, you'd go to 170, I think. I had everything down. I can do the math right here quickly. 230 times 0.25, 70. Okay, so 230 minus 7.5. Okay, so you go about 172.5. So that's probably at about Bloodlust 3. So you'd be moving at about Bloodlust 3. If a second pallet is dropped and you hit it, you're going base killer speed at this point, but you're still doing the chainsaw charge. You're still charging. So basically, it's just you can keep running through pallets. Now I did kind of have a couple changes that could be made. Instead of going slower, upon hitting your first pallet, you move to like Bloodlust 2 speed, and upon hitting the second pallet, you stop and fully break it. Which that'd sound more reasonable to me. But it'd be called heavy duty chains. It'd be a ultra rare. It'd be a chainsaw related killer's first ultra rare, since they don't get them. And it's right along his abilities, because he has chain related items, boom, an extra chain. You could also do maybe something about this, because the highest it goes is moderately reduces the noise. I think they could do another one, but maybe not, because if you mix these two together, it's a quiet ass chainsaw. You'd be surprised. Anyway, that's the base one. I did do a complicated killer because his ability has multiple stages on it. So, what I did for the doctor, or Carter, whatever you want to call him, I kind of went off the idea of screaming when you go insane. Now, I didn't know exactly what to call it, and granted, this is it seems a little unfair, and it could definitely use some polish by people who know how to balance a game, but it would be his second ultra rare, which would put him with everyone else that has now 2 ultra rares. But if you read through his backstory, he gets advice from a CIA agent called Mr. Stamper that he needs to go deeper into getting information out of prisoners, which is when he started doing shock therapy and all that good stuff. So, it'd be called Mr. Stamper's Notes. Or Mr. Stamper's Advice, Carter's Notes. And basically, they have this little thing on the bottom. Like, they have how they affect their madness, but they also have, if you look above that, increase madness inflicted by your shock therapy. Considerably increase your terror radius, all that good stuff. Now this one is it really needs polish, because the doctor is hard to make an add-on for. That's supposed to change his gimmick, because everyone knows for the doctor, his purple add-ons don't change his gimmick or what he's kind of meant. It doesn't change how he's played. Instead, his game-changing stuff is right here, in the interview tapes and scrap tape. They change his pattern, how he shocks, so you have to play a bit differently accordingly. Now this one kind of changes that as well. So, right off the bat, your shock therapy madness gain, or the madness gain from shock therapy is 15% less, and your static field is also 5% less. and it sounds like a lot of downsides, but give it a second. Your terror radius is reduced to 8 meters. Or it's, no, whoa, not 8 meters. Your terror radius, your basic one, is reduced by 8 meters. By this, the default of this add-on reduces your terror radius by 8 meters. Now let's get to what the madness... Oh, also, this trumps all other add-ons. I felt like that was kind of to ferret out, because this might be a little bit overpowered mixed with certain things, and it also kind of counters all of these. It's supposed to change his gimmick, is what I'm going for here for this one. Survivors in Madness 1, 2, and 3 don't suffer from any of the normal effects of Madness. It trumps all other add-ons, but in Madness 1, survivors scream when they're first put into Madness, like usual. And then from that point forward, survivors scream every 45 seconds, and you have a little timer, or there's a little red thing around your Madness, like when a cooldown perk is active. There's a red line that goes around until it's until it activates or is inactive. That's how this works. If you look at your Madness, a red circle will start to fill up, and once it hits max, that's when you scream. Survivors in Madness 1 scream every 45 seconds, but this doesn't make a visual and audio cue for the doctor. If he's close enough, he'll hear you scream, but your scream is also reduced. The noise made by the scream on Tier 1 is 25% quieter as well. Survivors in Madness 1 scream every 45 seconds, but this does not make a visual cue revealing where you are to the doctor, or an audio cue unless he's close enough. In Madness 2, survivors scream every 25 seconds, and it does give a cue for the killer. Also, it takes 2 seconds longer, or you can now snap out of Madness 2, but it takes 2 seconds longer to snap out. And also, the skill checks are just a little bit harder than normal. And in Madness 3, survivors scream every 10 seconds, interrupting any action they do, but snapping out is 2 seconds faster. And you only snap out into level 2. So you can snap out during a chase, but he'll just put you right back in. Now, granted, this is just another one of those gimmick changers, and I know killers normally only have 1 or 2 gimmick changers, and those are supposed to be the interview tape and the scrap tape. But I think most of their iridescence, or most of their ultra rares, kind of change how you have to play them. Like for the Hag, for example, her game-changing add-ons are anything that removes her ability to teleport to her traps, and it's not this one. This one right here, Scarred Hand. You cannot teleport to your traps, but they now have collision. And yeah, that's basically it. There's also Rusted Shackles, which kind of change how she's played as well. For the Huntress, running only Iridescent Head means you have to be very accurate with your hatchet throws. Unless, of course, you're a normal person and run Infantry Belt with it, in which case that would make sense. That kind of changes how she's played. Now, I don't know if she has very many gimmick-changing things. They're all mostly increases or decreases to certain things, or increasing her hatchets, or adding an effect to her hatchets as well, and whatever these do, or revealing stuff. But there's not much deviation to her as well, so I feel like there could be an add-on, an ultra rare in particular, that could kind of change how she's played. You can't really change how to play the Huntress, though, because her ability is that she throws axes. That's pretty much it. She'll throw an axe at you and call it a day. So you can't really change that much, unlike how you can with, say, the Trapper and his new padded jaws. Instead of dealing damage, you get blood points. And like for the Hillbilly, the speed limiter, instead of insta-downing someone, you only damage them, but get 100% more blood points for chainsaw hits. Now the nurse, I don't think I could even attempt to make an add-on for her. She doesn't have any ultra rares, and honestly, I don't think she really needs any. I don't know how to play her, so I can't really see anything. I don't really know how to play her, and I can't really give any suggestions on how you could make an add-on for her. I'd leave that one up to the devs to work out. Granted, all of this is just my ideas. No one has to listen, but it's just what I think. And the reason I don't make... I've had ideas for other add-ons, but I feel like I'd be working too hard on the killer side, and if you're working on the Dead by Daylight team thing, you'd probably have to be non-biased and work with both sides. Because, see, everyone's got 2 ultra rares, and I feel like if there was a third added, everyone would play that killer because they have an extra ultra rare. That means they're overpowered. No, that doesn't really mean jack shit. These 3 right here do not have ultra rares. This is one of the best in the game. This is one of the best in the game. He's mid-tier. And she's one of the best in the game and only has 1. All these other low-tier killers or mid-tier killers have 2, and they're rarely played. Or, no, they're commonly played, but they're, you know, everyone's good in their own... I don't know what I was going with this. I've lost my... I had my thoughts planned in my head of what I was about to say about that, and they completely just gone. But yeah, I didn't want to work on try and add add-ons to killers that have more or that have 2, because I feel like if one killer had 3, people would say, oh, well, why doesn't this killer get 3? Or something stupid like that. That makes them, oh, it makes them overpowered because they've got an extra really good add-on. Well, you know, oh well, that means that gives more options for others. And for survivors and stuff, like, I could think of plenty of things. I could definitely think of new items to make, because they've had these kind of one-off items like the party streamers that, or the firecrackers, and when you throw them down they blind somebody. Now, I'm not perfect on what I could make to kind of be good and not overpowered for the survivors, because the base is toolboxes, medkits, maps, keys, and flashlights. Those are the base items. They're all, well, actually no, they're not all right here, because once you hit yellow tier or green tier is when everything comes to fruition of what items there are and what items there is not. Flashlights, toolboxes, maps, medkits, and keys. And the only 2 ultra rares are the 2 weirdest ones. You've got the rainbow map and the skeleton key. I understand both of them. I know how they work, and I understand how to use them, but I don't see why there isn't, like, another item. There's 5 items you can pick from. Why not make it 6? Just think of one other thing you can add. I like this, like a one-time use item. I mean, there's plenty of one-time uses. You use a dull key on a lock, it's gone. You put a anti-hemorrhage syringe on a medkit, that turns it into an absolutely terrifyingly amazing thing that can be easily removed with one powerful action. One powerful action, this is gone. An add-on makes this with one powerful action, and this is gone. This has add-ons to make it harder to remove, or increase its range of how much it can map out. And then there's, you know, good old-fashioned flashlight. Basically, this is how I've categorized everything: objective, altruism, survival, boldness. I missed one, didn't I? Oh, the map. Honestly, I couldn't think what this would be for other than objective as well, because you get objective points for running a map when you map stuff out. So, there's 2 things for objective, 1 for boldness, one for altruism, one for survival. And there's only 2 maps in the game. Now, granted, I don't think they need to add another map. I think we have plenty, but maybe like a yellow quality map, or like I guess I can't really do a yellow quality key. This one kind of sucks anyway. But I feel like there should be some kind of add-on or item that's just for endgame, I guess, because this is an endgame, this is for the start, this is for about when people start getting injured, and this is for mostly beginnings. Most people use at the beginning for points. There needs to be like another kind of in-game thing, maybe. Now, off the top of my head, I can't just make up an item off the top of my head, or it's going to be extremely unbalanced, and I guess that's how you troubleshoot. You make it and find out, is this overpowered or is it not? What's the meta now? How does it change it? And all this and all that. Like, you wouldn't believe how long it took me to think of these add-ons. I thought of them, looked them over a couple times. I went to the actual Killers page, their wiki page, and learned as much as I could about them before I'd eventually kind of do a final verdict on how I think this add-on would change something, or would it be good, would it be bad. Because for Hillbilly, before I thought of the heavy-duty chain, I was thinking of something along the lines of the light chassis. Because this is the only item of its kind for the Hillbilly. And most items have multiple variants. For the engravings, there's Death and Doom. There's only one carburetor tuning guide. There is 3 items that decrease cooldown. I think there's more than just this item that decrease the charge time. 2 items that reduce the noise. And I think the carburetor's tuning guide reduces the penalty when bumping into objects, but maybe just one more for this, or... Oh. Well, shit, I didn't even think about that. See, I wasn't playing the game at the time when I thought of my ideas, so I could see why that one I missed out on that one, but... You know, there's so many killers that could be changed or affected in some way, but I can't really say... Of course, these ideas, if they get added, I'm not going to get credit, because I'm a nobody to this community. I'm not known by anybody except for maybe that one guy who's sworn vengeance on me because I camped him at the end game because he was he was taunting me at the exit gate and I got him. But you know, like with I feel like every killer needs to have an item like this. So for the Trapper, there's Padded Jaws, where they don't get damage, but you get a lot more blood points. For the chainsaw-related killers, both of them, they have the... Oh, where is it? The speed limiter, which gives them more blood points. For... or it reduces instead of... For the other one, it injured them and gave you a chance to pick them up. And for this one, it would insta-down them. But now, instead of insta-downing them, it's a guaranteed injure, but you also get a lot more blood points for it. I feel like there could definitely be an upgrade to speed limiter, that instead of damaging them at all, you just get a shit ton more points. The nurse, I don't know if she has anything, but I don't want to look through hers. I know the hag has one. She has to have one that gives her more points, and I know she does have one that gives her more points, and she can't teleport to her traps, guaranteed. Yep, here it is. Scarred Hand. I remembered it, but I couldn't remember what it was called. The doctor, I don't know if he has anything either. I think he... No, I think this one has it, doesn't it? No, it doesn't. Wow. So he also does not have one. So there's room for change for everybody, but I'd say if I had to pick between the killers that I could not, if I tried, think of an item to make for them, would be the Wraith, Nurse, and Hag. Wraith because, like, what the fuck are his add-ons anyway? They're these weird, kind of, just... What are they? Symbols. Symbols from something that do stuff. boom. But the only thing I could think of is maybe like making stronger versions of already pre-existing ones. There could be changeable ones, but or like for another good one for the trapper would be instead of having that kind of changed his whole thing. What does he already have? He has 3 items that affect what his bear traps do. One makes it to where you don't damage players, but you get more points. One makes it to where they get hemorrhage, and one makes it to where they get mangled. So what if there was a very rare one that it's the effect that makes it hard to I'd have to go back to the hillbilly and look what his was. Is it Begrime Chain, right? Oh, this also gives him mangled. Well, this right here moderately decreases the repair speed of survivors injured by chainsaw. Have one where it moderately decreases repair speed of survivors caught in a bear trap until they're healed. Or until, 60 seconds. And, you've got rusted jaws and serrated jaws. Instead, call it bloodied jaws. I think they used to have that, actually. But call it bloodied jaws. The blood of previous survivors who have stepped in the traps have now been put into one survivor, and it makes him hard to... makes him hard. I don't know. It's just ideas. Just throw stuff out there, see what sticks to your head, and kind of just go from there and try and balance it out to where it'd work in-game. And how it affects the entire changing of the game. Because you can't have something that breaks the game, and you can't have something that's useless. An idea of a useless item would be like... I don't know why I went straight to the hag. I have trouble learning her add-ons properly. But, like this. This is kind of one of those things that you don't really see people run because there's almost no purpose to it. So you'd have to think of, like, are people going to use this? Is it going to be game-breakingly changing? Or is it going to do absolutely nothing? Or is it going to be run sometimes and people are going to be like, this is okay. And now for me, I don't want to change add-ons. I want to make new ones so people can't just immediately have a shit ton of them and just be annoying. Granted, you could save them up, and I guarantee a lot of people would run certain add-ons that are made at rank 1 and just dominate, but they'd only have so many of them. And I don't think there's a single add-on that reduces the amount of blood points earned for certain categories, but I feel like that should be a thing, an add-on that reduces the amount of blood points you can earn for a certain category, or just a certain thing that you can do. Like for the trapper, how his padded jaws give him increased points for trapping somebody. Well, maybe if he had one that instead it had like some really good, amazing upgrade, but it gave you like 50% less points for trapping a survivor. So you wouldn't get as many points in that category, and you'd have to find a different way to get those points. Granted, these are all just stupid ideas that I've thought of on my own, but I feel like with polish from other people giving me suggestions, or, like if I could actually get this to someone who could, if I could get this to someone higher up than me that could get it to the developers, or just maybe try and get this to someone who cares, I feel like just I could help try and make things for this game. Now, I know I'm just, just a 15-year-old who everyone could probably just try and think, oh, he's just trying to find the easy way out and not have to actually work and get shit done, in which case you're completely right. Damn, I wish I could just work for a game company and make shit on my own accord. But that's not how it works. I am just trying to make suggestions that could come to fruition in the game and just be something that people enjoy and change how the game is played. Granted, this game only gets updated every couple months, think it's every 3 months there's or from what the roadmap said, every 3 months there's a new killer. Halfway through the 3 months is the mid-season, so we have to wait another half a month, which wouldn't make any sense, and we're going to get another new killer, but I don't think that's how it's going to work out. I think it's... Or no, we'd have to wait a whole nother month before the next killer is even announced, but I feel like at the mid-season they'd have to announce the killer, finish it up until until the third month, release it, work on the mid-season, hit the mid-season, announce the next killer, fix him up, get him ready for that season. I don't think they could keep that up. I just feel like that's too much, and I feel like the game would become way too overcrowded with killer options. Honestly, I'd accept 3 killers a year. Just like, we have the OG 3, and then, I don't remember exactly when this game came out, but 1 year, 3 more killers. Another year, 3 more killers. 1 more year, 3 more killers. Except we've already had 1 this year, 2 this year, actually. I think the pig came out this year as well. So, I don't know how long this game's been out. I don't know how many killers have been made and when they were made. I haven't looked up all that. I just look up how the killers are affected and what happens. I've looked up speeds of killers, how to make funny, retarded builds that are... I've got the hillbilly running at faster than a nurse's blink, which is faster than a dead hard, by the way. It's crazy. I've thought of so many, like, stupid, funny mixes of things when I look through the wiki, and I try and... when I make an item, the first thing I do is reread a certain killer's backstory. If I'm like, who do I want to make an add-on for? First, I avoid killers that have, like, made-up shit. I try and pick a backstory I know I can work with. I try and stay away from licensed killers, and I only stick to the ones that they created for the game. So I avoid Leatherface, Shape, Nightmare, and Pig. Or Cannibal. I only stick to the Nurse, Hillbilly, Wraith, Trapper, Hag, Doctor, Huntress, Clown. Those are the games, or those are the ones that were made for the games. I wish there was like a separation barrier where all the licensed killers, like you move the Cannibal to where the Clown is, and move the Huntress to where Michael is. Boom, good to go. And then we'd have all the licensed at the bottom, all the ones made for the game at the top. Now, I don't know if the next killer is going to be licensed or not. There's talks about the next killer being Scream, or a Scream-related killer, and there was, a long time ago, rumors about a killer called the Teacher, who everyone was kind of like, ooh, that sounds cool. Her ability, its ability, we don't know if it was a he or she, its ability was detention, and her its weapon was a ruler with a blade on it. Now, I don't know what the next killer could be, nor do I really care at this moment. Honestly, my one goal is, I don't know when the rank or season resets, my goal is to make it to at least red. And I've been doing really, really fucking good as the Clown recently. I don't know why, but people do not understand how bottles work. That, and I've been finding a lot of survivors who have, I'd say, at least under 5 brain cells, jumping into lockers right in front of me while I'm holding a bottle. A word from someone who's been maining the Clown recently: just because we're holding a bottle doesn't mean we can't put it away and grab you out of a locker. Bottles can be put away just as fast as they can be thrown. I put away most of the bottles I pull up. I use them as an intimidation method or a hurting method. I throw them at, like, pallets and stuff if I can make it. Most of the time I can't, and I just use it to slow them down and see if I can challenge the pallet and dash through it. Most of the time it doesn't work, but when it does, it's normally a down. Ugh. I'm starting to just talk about my experiences. And anyway, all this was really about was just me blabbering. There will be no gameplay in this because I can't really stream right now. And I probably will play this game later on tonight, but I don't feel like playing it right now. My blood points are low. My hopes are also low. And if you couldn't tell, I've been putting points into the Hag. I really, really, really want to go for Hex Ruin. Really badly, but I just can't. Like, I had a 250,000 blood points yesterday. I dropped down to like 190 something because I put all the way up to unlocking the Clowny Boy's first teachable bamboozle, which is one of his best. Like, you don't really know how good bamboozle is until you use it in certain loops, and you're like, wow. Also, a lot of people, like, just don't understand how easy it is to farm as the clown. Like, just throw bottles at someone. If you just continuously throw bottles at a person, like taunting at the hatch or standing at the door, it's 300 for a direct hit, 150 for an intoxication. I think it's 250 for a bottle hit. So if you line up the shot perfectly, you can just keep throwing bottles, hitting them every time, getting 250 per hit, and they'll sit there and wait until either they eventually get bored and leave, or until you walk forward and scare them out the door. One of the funniest things I ever did was I was at a hatch standoff where I just kept throwing the bottle over and over until I maxed out, walked away, turned around, grabbed him out of the hatch. Felt great. I probably could have thrown a bottle and made him scream, because I think that can cancel an action, but I think only the doctor can cancel actions with his ability to make survivors scream. I think the clown should be allowed to do that too. If you can direct hit someone with a bottle, in that second where they scream, they can't vault or anything like that. You'd have to time it almost perfectly, but I think it'd be a good idea. Anyway, these are all just ideas and stuff floating around in my head. I figured I'd get them out there. I might delete this video. I might not. I'm going to delete the Far Cry 3 video that none of you will ever know about, hopefully, because I frankly learned... Oh, probably messed up the audio for a second there. I frankly learned just because it's remastered doesn't mean they remastered the graphics. They brought the game back, but there was almost no graphical changes, and I noticed a lot of bugs. One of my favorite being when I was in the car and my thumb was going through the steering wheel the entire drive and it was killing me. I was like, oh my god, you couldn't have fixed that one thing? Anyway, this is just ideas that I've had floating around. I'll probably have more. I don't know if I'll have Survivor or more killer stuff. Probably, guarantee it'll all be mostly focused around the killer, because that's who I play personally. I don't like Survivor, because it's just not fun for me. Unless I'm with a big team, in which case we can communicate and work out how to escape, and I can occasionally make that noble sacrifice where I feel like a boss, but it turns out I didn't get near as many points as the guy who just escaped and didn't even see the clown all game, and I got bottled at the exit gate and smacked down because my teammates wouldn't stop healing me in front of the exit. I'm sorry. I'm getting caught up in an angry moment that I had earlier, the day or two ago. Anyway, long story short, I might make these videos after I conjure up a few more add-ons. They'll mostly be killer-related. They will never be new killer ideas, though, because there is no way in hell I could make a killer that's fair, has a good add-on, and cannot hurt the game in any way. If I make a killer, it's going to somehow be overpowered, or it's going to be way too underpowered because I think it's overpowered, and I make things that loosen or that lower its effectiveness, which ends up just absolutely slaughtering the ability of the killer. So I will never make a killer idea, but I will make add-ons for any killer except for Nurse, Wraith, and Hag. I could try the Hag because her items are a bit more down to earth, but these two are pure fiction because these are symbols and these are breaths caught in a bottle. These are like grease for or oil for a chainsaw, or chains for a chainsaw. These are gloves to set traps, different types of jaws for your traps, bags to carry around your traps, which, by the way, really, really don't like Stitch Bag. One of my least favorite items now. Mostly because why would I pay 7,000 for an extra bear trap at the start of the game when I can pay 4,000 to still be able to carry 2 extra bear traps? I'd just start with an extra one instead of this one where I'd start with 3 instead of 2 for an extra 2,000 blood points that I guarantee I won't get back from trapping survivors unless their eyeballs are not open. So, me personally probably won't go out of my way for a stitched bag, but if it's in the line that where I'm going, yes, I'll grab it. Like, say, we'll see here, this was before the update because there's none of the new items, as you can see. Me personally, I went here, grabbed this, jumped back for this, So it started taking this. And then from there, I grabbed all the things I liked. This was before I started just purely picking out commons for the fact that I could save a shit ton of blood points by just going for commons. Like, it's crazy how much farther you can get when not going for the items you want and going for the things that are inexpensive. It's great. Anyway, these videos might come out commonly, they might not. It all depends on how often I make add-ons for killers or survivors, if I ever make a survivor add-on or item. I don't know. I probably wouldn't make an item, just an add-on to a pre-existing item. Feel like I'm gonna get a lot of shit for this, if anyone was to care. And if you do stop to comment, you know, saying, oh, your ideas are shit, thank you. That's constructive criticism for me. Instead of telling me how much you hate my idea, tell me how you would change it, and I could see how that just in my head would weigh out compared to some of the pre-existing stuff, how the game is played currently, the meta, how everything works out. There's so much you got to take in when thinking of an idea for an item or an add-on for an item. Like, I just, you know, I knew that I go for the killers that seem like they're missing something. And for these guys, it's that they're missing an ultra rare. Granted, you know, they're one of the best fucking killers in the game. And he's powerful enough, don't get me wrong. But, you know, hey, if you don't want to put it on him, give it to the cannibal. And then, you know, just kind of hang this fucker out to dry if you really don't care that much. Because I mean, think about it. This boy's already slow enough when running around with his chainsaw, so maybe give him a lower percent of how much he loses when hitting a pallet, but he keeps going. He'd still be faster than a sprinting survivor, but he wouldn't be as fast as he wouldn't be as fast as like Bloodlust 1. Let's put it that way. But he wouldn't be slower than his average run speed. So maybe he would be about Bloodlust 1 speed. I don't know exactly the speed on how fast Bubba's chainsaw is when he's charging it around and swinging it. But either way, long story short, may make these videos, may not. Depends what this one gets. Probably won't get jack shit because no one will ever find this video. It's locked in the deep depths of YouTube hell. No one will ever find this. Good day.